March 19, 2016. In the center of the screen, you're looking at some of the only images of Comet BA-14. It's one of the two comets that are going to approach the Earth very close between the 21st and the 22nd. I'll pull it up so you can see it better. There's not many images of it. And from this perspective, you got to realize what you're looking at. You're in the southern hemisphere, which would be on the bottom of the Earth, looking down. You're looking at this object. The Earth is moving to the right also. This object we're looking at is rising. It's coming up under the Earth, and on that day, at its close approach, we will start to be able to see it in the northern hemisphere. Now, this is just the smaller fragment of 252P linear. Remember, they're saying we're going to have a meteor storm? This cannot be the only fragment. And if you look at very close, there's certain times where you can almost see that there's fragments involved with this. Now, we're dealing with two objects. Both are classified as comets. This is the smaller, the broken off piece. What is there that they cannot see? These are the latest images of the larger object, 252P linear. But remember in the last video, there's a chance that the comet's approach could cause a minor meteor shower according to the International Meteor Organization. These pictures were taken by Gerald Raymond, March 18, 2016, Farm, Tivoli, and Nambia. Again, Southern Hemisphere. It says, according to the IMO modeling forecaster, Mikhail Maslov indicates there might be a weak episode of faint, very slow meteors. Guys, you realize what they're saying, they're downplaying it. Never have we in modern history seen a comet close enough to bring a meteor shower with it. We saw that possibly with Mars and Comet sighting spring, but we did see this in the videos I've done about the Carolina Bays. Another thing I want to talk about, the earthquakes are increasing on our section of the Ring of Fire. We've had 2 6s, 5.2, and some aftershocks in the last couple of days. And before that, for a few days before this started happening, all of the activity was on the opposite corner of the Ring of Fire. Instead of the northeastern side, it was on the southwestern corner. Now things are starting to shift. We have not had a major increase in solar activity. We've seen where large CMEs and solar flares can affect the compression on our tectonic plates and cause quakes. There's other things that will do this. If you look at the aftershocks there in Alaska, but that 5.2 to the right of this, guys, is in the Cascadia subduction zone. What concerns me is the lack of activity between the 5.2 and if you go south down to Central America and across to the 6.0, is that California is kind of in a squeeze. So let's watch it. I'm not saying anything major will happen there, but the pressure has definitely shifted. Look at the bottom left of the globe. From there, earlier, as we go back 2 days on the age and the filters on the right, and bring this up, it's moved from here to the top. And again, California, Oregon, Washington, you're in the middle of that. And we're seeing pressure on the Cascadia fault zone. Not to scare anybody, but to make you aware of what we're looking at here. So we're dealing with pressure here. Now, why would it be changing? There may be a reason for it, and I'll go through that. But let's look at the details on this. 6.0, that's in Barbudo. That's the one that you see highlighted in blue. Remember, just north of there, we had the buoy going off. And we have underground seamounts there. They don't talk about them much. That's off the Carolina coast. Now, this one, the 5.2, was in that Cascadia fault zone. We always watch it. And here you've got another 6.0, and we've seen it many times south of Atka, Alaska. The bend in the Aleutian Trench seems to be a lot of the pressure. This may be the culprit. What you're looking at is the geomagnetic location of the pole of the Earth's North Pole. 2013 is the center circle. 2014, 2015, now 2016, you see that the circle of the magnetic pole is widening. That, to me, says that the Earth's rotation is slowing down, just like a top. If you spin it, it's very fast and very stable. As it slows down, it starts to wobble. This is not the geographic North Pole I'm talking about, but the north magnetic pole, and it is affected by the solar wind, the sun's magnetic poles, coronal mass ejections, things like that. That is why I think we're also seeing these wild fluctuations in weather. What you're looking at is a model of a pole shift. You're looking at north and south indicated by the gold and blue colors, and this is a model that they predicted that could happen over a 1,200-year period. But they found evidence that it's happened much faster than that. And the way they can detect it is that when magma cools coming out of a volcano and hardens, in that hardening process, it will lock in which direction the magnetic fields were. And some of them have been in days. Now let's move to CERN's 2016 schedule. It's almost identical to last year. Now we're in the 11th week, down here on the 19th day in the powering test. They're starting to re-crank everything back up. Another possible issue. This year is going to be different. Guys, do you know that as we watched all the power in this large underground ring last year, that the technology that they were dealing with is almost making it obsolete as we speak? But here in December, the same way we saw it last year when they were running the highest power, they're going to be dealing with new elements. Also, they're listing the 2016 injector accelerator schedule. That's important because it has to do with the new technology. They figured out that this injector is the right way to do it so far. But if they change from this large ring to plasma wave technology, they can get by with something that will fit inside a bedroom. And you can see in December we're going to be dealing with proton and lead collisions at very high power. Again, this new plasma wave technology is called Start Awake Commissioning. See that? 27th week, July the 4th. On the 4th of July, they're going to crank up the new machine. That's the one I'm talking about. And it's just like with any other technology, especially in today's modern engineering, technology becomes obsolete very quickly. Now what we're talking about is awakening the acceleration. Awake's plasma cell arrives. Now they're going to still use the same injectors that we've been seeing fire the beams into the large 17-mile underground ring. It says this technology could accelerate particles with hundreds of times more power than current methods. Guys, this is not good. The Awake experiment under construction at CERN is preparing to test this question with proton-driven plasma wake field acceleration. This is almost like Stargate. It says on Thursday 11th February, a key component was lowered into the tunnel and put into place. The 10-meter, not 17-mile, long plasma cell, which was developed by the Max Planck Institute for Physics in Munich, Germany. And the key difference is modern accelerators rely on electric fields and charged particles. And they're using what's called radio frequency cavities, this large underground tunnel. They call them RF cavities. And they kick the incoming particles, and we saw that in the accelerator and then in the acceleration process with the magnets inside the large tunnel. But this plasma wake field offers a different technology. A proton beam known as the dry beam is injected into an ionized gas, or plasma, and it attracts the free electrons while passing through it, creating waves of electric charge in the wake of the proton beam. A second beam of electrons, called the witness beam, is injected into the right phase behind the proton beam, and it pushes it just like a surfer riding a wave. Now, what separates Awake from all these other drives is that they've been using electrons. Awake is going to use protons injected into this plasma field. Again, they can put this thing into a 10-meter area. The large RF cavities could become obsolete this year, guys, because they've already lowered in place, and you saw it on the schedule. Another thing about CERN is, remember Higgs boson? It was called the God particle, and I mentioned this. They found a new particle, and at first they weren't sure because they detected it in the new Atlas machine. But now the CMS also has detected it, and what happens is, after they shut it down, these large computers have gathered terabytes of information. Then they can analyze it. And so after going through all this data, both CERN and CMS picked up the same thing. Happened a couple times. This is the fourth dimension. That's what they're talking about if you study it, and I'll get into more detail in the next video about it. The walking through wall particle. The dimension in front of your face particle that we cannot crack with our physical body and our physical eyes. And the fallen angels technology that has trapped them here. They're trying to break through it with their own version of the Tower of Babel. We're watching this in many things, guys. It's a heads up. Be safe.